General Hospital will reveal. General Hospital on the brink of collapse. Is Carly's death the final nail in the coffin? The ruthless flow of time in the entertainment industry never stops, and it seems that General Hospital, GH, is no exception to this harsh reality. Once a beloved daytime television staple, GH is now facing a significant decline in viewership. Recent statistics reveal a worrying trend. Ratings are plummeting, and this is no longer a minor issue but a growing concern that has both the media and fans alarmed. What makes this situation even more dire is that the drop in ratings has become particularly evident with the arrival of a new soap opera, Beyond the Gate. Since its debut, Beyond the Gate has captivated audiences with its fresh storytelling, compelling cast, and gripping drama. It didn't take long for the show to overshadow GH, dominating the ratings and making many believe that the long-running soap opera might be on the verge of cancellation. Amid this crisis, a shocking revelation has sent GH fans into an uproar. One of the show's most iconic actors has reportedly decided to leave. According to behind-the-scenes reports, Laura Wright, the veteran actress who has portrayed Carly Spencer for years, has officially made the decision to exit the series. This news is not just a devastating blow to GH, but it also serves as a warning sign of the show's uncertain future. What makes matters even worse is how the writers have chosen to write Carly out of the story. Rather than giving her an open-ended departure or a temporary exit, Carly is set to meet a tragic and brutal end, being poisoned by Jason Morgan. This shocking turn of events is not only a cruel fate for such an iconic character but also an unforgivable betrayal to loyal viewers. Carly has been a cornerstone of General Hospital, surviving countless personal and professional battles, enduring heartbreak, and making a lasting impact on the show's legacy. Fans have been with her through it all, and now, her abrupt and violent death feels like a gut punch to those who have invested in her journey. Many believe that this isn't just a storyline twist but a clear sign that GH is heading toward disaster. A soap opera thrives on its devoted fan base and the presence of beloved, long-standing characters. However, with Laura Wright's departure and Carly's tragic demise, GH may be pushing itself to the brink of irrelevance. Viewers are outraged, with many taking to social media to express their frustration over how the show is mishandling its legacy and alienating its audience. Is this the end of General Hospital? Does Carly's death signal that GH no longer has the ability to win back its audience? Fans are left wondering if the producers can find a way to turn things around or if this truly marks the beginning of the end for one of television's longest-running soap operas. Stay tuned to see how this drama unfolds, both on screen and behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, executive producer Frank Valentini reportedly made every possible effort to convince Laura Wright to stay with General Hospital, but all attempts ultimately proved futile. According to inside sources, Wright had already made up her mind, disillusioned by the show's increasingly disjointed storytelling, lack of depth, and the inexplicable manner in which longtime, loyal cast members had been dismissed. For years, Wright had been a steadfast presence on GH, embodying Carly Spencer through countless ups and downs. She had weathered the storms of dramatic twists, intense rivalries, and high-stakes romances, becoming one of the most recognizable and beloved figures on the show. However, as time went on, it became evident that the direction of GH was straying further from the elements that once made it compelling. Storylines became more fragmented, characters seemed to lose their essence, and the emotional impact that once gripped audiences began to fade. What seemed to frustrate Laura Wright the most, according to sources close to the situation, was the revolving door of cast departures, a trend that had only grown worse under Frank Valentini's leadership. Over the years, GH had lost many of its core performers, often under controversial circumstances, leaving fans bewildered and frustrated. Instead of maintaining stability, the show had adopted a pattern of abruptly writing off characters, sometimes with weak or illogical explanations. Wright, who had dedicated nearly 2 decades to GH, had reportedly grown tired of witnessing beloved colleagues being forced out, while at the same time, Valentini and the writing team struggled to introduce compelling new characters or sustain long-term, meaningful arcs. It was a cycle of instability, one that Wright no longer wished to endure. Additionally, sources suggest that Wright had grown increasingly disenchanted with Valentini's repeated missteps. His controversial creative decisions, coupled with behind-the-scenes conflicts, had driven numerous fan-favorite actors to leave in recent years. Wright, who had remained one of the few long-standing veterans still holding the show together, finally decided that enough was enough. She could no longer stand by and watch as the series continued down a path of creative and structural decline. Her exit not only signifies the departure of an irreplaceable talent but also serves as a damning reflection of the show's internal struggles. With yet another significant loss, it raises the question, can General Hospital survive the turbulence it has created for itself, or is this the beginning of the end? Now, in a desperate attempt to salvage the situation, the General Hospital production team is scrambling to reignite audience interest by bringing back familiar faces from the past. This is a strategy that soap operas have historically relied on during periods of declining ratings. Reintroducing former characters to create nostalgia and lure back longtime viewers. However, rather than making thoughtful, well-executed decisions that would restore the heart and soul of the show, GH seems to be making questionable choices in which characters to bring back, prioritizing less impactful or unpopular returns over truly beloved figures. Fans have been vocal about their frustration with this misguided approach. Instead of seeing the return of legendary characters who once defined the golden era of GH, viewers are being met with lackluster revivals of characters who never resonated deeply with the audience in the first place. This has only amplified the dissatisfaction and reinforced the perception that GH is out of touch with its fanbase. Many longtime viewers had hoped that GH would learn from its mistakes and take this opportunity to bring back actors who contributed to the show's legacy, those who once captivated audiences with rich, compelling storylines. Instead, the production team appears to be grasping at straws, making erratic casting choices that fail to address the root issues plaguing the show. Rather than reviving the magic of its prime years, GH is alienating its audience even further. Fans are not only disappointed by the lack of meaningful returns but also frustrated with the absence of consistent, engaging storytelling. It seems as though the producers are stuck in a cycle of short-term solutions, bringing characters back for brief stints with little impact, rather than focusing on long-term narrative development that could genuinely reignite excitement. With ratings continuing to plummet, and with no clear strategy in place to rectify the damage, one must wonder, is GH fighting a losing battle? If the show continues down this path, bringing back the wrong characters while neglecting the ones that truly matter, it may be too little, too late to reverse its downfall. Although all of this information remains speculative at this point, the alarming state of General Hospital has led many to believe that these rumors could very well be true. The soap opera, which once dominated daytime television, now finds itself struggling to maintain relevance in an era where viewer expectations are evolving. What was once a powerhouse of drama, romance, and intrigue has now become a show riddled with uninspired storytelling, controversial casting decisions, and a lack of long-term vision. With each passing week, ratings continue to plummet, a stark contrast to the show's past dominance. There was a time when GH consistently delivered gripping, high-stakes narratives that had audiences glued to their screens. However, over the past few years, an increasing number of longtime viewers have abandoned the show, citing incoherent plotlines, rushed character exits, and frustrating creative choices as the main reasons for their disinterest. While soap operas are known for their dramatic twists and shocking revelations, GH has repeatedly alienated its audience by focusing on storylines that feel disconnected from the show's legacy and devoid of emotional weight. The decline in ratings is not merely a passing trend, it is a symptom of a much larger issue, the show's inability to evolve while staying true to its roots. Instead of carefully crafting multi-layered arcs that resonate with longtime fans, GH has relied too heavily on shock value, often at the expense of character consistency and meaningful storytelling. As a result, viewer trust has eroded, and once loyal fans have found themselves disenchanted with a show they once loved. Adding fuel to the fire, the fan backlash has only intensified following the shocking reports of Laura Wright's impending departure. Wright's portrayal of Carly Spencer has been a cornerstone of GH for nearly 2 decades, and her exit marks one of the most significant losses in the show's modern history. Unlike other character departures, which sometimes leave the door open for a return, the decision to kill Carly off in such a dramatic and irreversible way, by poisoning her at the hands of Jason Morgan, has sparked outrage. Many fans see this as a cruel and unnecessary end to a character who has been through countless trials and tribulations, cementing her status as one of the most iconic figures in Port Charles. For GH, losing a character as integral as Carly is not just another casting change, it's a catastrophic blow to the show's already fragile foundation. Carly's journey has been woven into the very fabric of GH's history, entangled with some of the most beloved characters and memorable storylines. Her tumultuous relationship with Sonny Corinthos, her complicated dynamic with Jason, and her fierce love for her children have made her one of the most compelling figures in the series. To see her written off so definitively raises serious concerns about how much more damage GH can withstand before it collapses entirely. Meanwhile, the production team appears to be scrambling for solutions, but their efforts may be too little, too late. Instead of addressing the root causes of audience dissatisfaction, they have resorted to bringing back lesser-known or less popular characters in a desperate attempt to boost ratings. However, this strategy has largely backfired, as audiences have made it clear that they want the return of iconic characters who truly shaped the show's golden years, not random figures from the past with little impact. The failure to recognize what fans truly desire has only further deepened the disconnect between the production team and the audience. Now, with the future of GH hanging in the balance, the biggest question remains: how much longer can General Hospital survive? With ratings in a downward spiral, creative decisions alienating its core audience, and now the loss of one of its most legendary characters, the reality is undeniable. GH is at a crossroads. The possibility of cancellation, once an unthinkable notion for a show of this stature, now looms as a very real and immediate threat. If drastic action isn't taken to restore audience trust, revitalize storytelling, and bring back the emotional depth that once defined the series, GH may soon find itself joining the long list of daytime dramas that failed to adapt and ultimately faded into television history. For fans who have stood by GH for years, this is a heartbreaking reality to confront. But unless the show's creators recognize the severity of the situation and make sweeping, meaningful changes, it may only be a matter of time before General Hospital closes its doors for good. Many people have harshly criticized Laura Wright, labeling her a traitor for her decision to leave General Hospital. To them, her departure feels like a betrayal of the show's legacy, especially at a time when GH is already struggling to maintain its footing. Some longtime fans argue that walking away from a show that helped cement her career is a selfish move, particularly when GH is at such a critical juncture. These critics believe that Laura should have remained loyal, fighting alongside the cast and crew to keep GH alive rather than jumping ship to a rising competitor like Beyond the Gate. Some fans who oppose her decision argue that leaving the show during its most vulnerable period is an abandonment of the very audience that made her a star. Carly Spencer is a cornerstone of General Hospital, and to lose her at a time when the show is already in crisis is, for many, a devastating blow that could accelerate the soap's demise. They believe that Wright owed it to the fans to stay, to help revive the show rather than leaving it to crumble. Many have pointed out that other veteran actors have remained loyal despite creative struggles, so why couldn't Wright do the same? However, just as many fans have rallied behind Wright, fully supporting her decision to leave a show that, in their eyes, no longer values its veteran actors or its rich history. These supporters argue that Wright's departure is not a betrayal but an act of self-preservation, a logical step for an actress who has grown weary of an uninspired creative direction and the mistreatment of longtime cast members. They believe that her exit serves as a wake-up call for GH's producers, proving that even the most dedicated actors cannot be expected to endure endless poor decisions and a declining work environment. For these fans, Wright's departure is a direct response to the show's ongoing mismanagement. They argue that the blame should not fall on her, but on executive producer Frank Valentini and the GH writing team. Wright's supporters insist that she is simply choosing to move forward in her career rather than staying on a sinking ship. They believe that GH has become a show that no longer respects the characters, actors, or audience that made it successful in the first place. Another common sentiment among her defenders is that Wright's departure should serve as a warning to the producers. If even someone as committed as Laura Wright can no longer tolerate the direction of GH, what does that say about the show's future? Many of her supporters have expressed frustration with GH's handling of character arcs, noting how beloved figures have been sidelined, written out, or given disappointing storylines. They argue that if the show's creative team had been stronger, Wright might have never felt the need to leave. Adding to the division among fans is the manner in which Carly is being written out of the show. Rather than leaving Port Charles for a new opportunity, a dramatic romance, or a compelling twist that allows for a future return, Carly will reportedly be killed off in a brutal fashion, poisoned by Jason Morgan. For many, this is an insult to the character's legacy, a sign that GH is burning bridges with its own fanbase. Fans who have loved Carly for years feel betrayed, not by Wright, but by GH itself for choosing to end her story in such a tragic and irreversible way. As the debate rages on, one undeniable fact remains: General Hospital is at a crossroads. Wright's departure has forced the show to confront harsh realities, the dwindling ratings, the alienation of longtime fans, and the creative struggles that have plagued the series. Will the producers stage an incredible comeback, proving to fans and critics alike that the soap opera is far from over? Or is this truly the final chapter for a daytime television icon? There are rumors that GH executives are scrambling to address the backlash, possibly reworking future storylines and making last-minute changes to salvage what's left of the show's reputation. But whether these efforts will be enough remains to be seen. The fate of GH hangs in the balance, and only time will tell whether this is just another bump in the road, or the beginning of the end for one of television's longest-running soap operas. For now, fans are left watching and waiting, hoping that their beloved show can rise from the ashes before it's too late.